technology, and whatever vendetta we have from 50 years ago could still apply to this day.
There are tribal disputes across the Middle East and North Africa. There are other conflicts as well, Islamists versus secularists, Sunni extremists like ISIS, and Shia militants backed by Iran. Layered on top is the long-standing regional rivalry between Iran and Saudi Arabia, as Tamara Wittes of the Brookings Institution explains.
Right now, and over the last several years, as the region's been upended, uprisings, civil conflict, it's created a lot of opportunities for each side in this power struggle to use these arenas of chaos to jockey for advantage, and it's also given them more incentive to do so. And so this conflict has heated up in a number of places.
Just look at Lebanon, she says, or post-Saddam Hussein Iraq, Bahrain, or Libya. In each, there are many local players with their own ambitions, and she says the U.S. can't just jump in on one side or another for ideological reasons, as the U.S. did in conflicts across the globe during the Cold War.
What do you want to be the fate of a place like Syria or Libya? If stability in the Middle East is a core American interest, and it is, then you cannot simply engage with these conflicts in a way that exacerbates them or leaves them to rage on.
The nuclear framework agreement with Iran is meant to take away one potential new threat, an Iranian bomb, and State Department spokesperson Marie Harf says the U.S. is trying to reassure Arab allies about that.
An Iran backed up by a nuclear weapon would be more able to project power in the region.
But there are different schools of thought on how a nuclear deal could affect Iranian behavior. Wittes, who runs the Center for Middle East Policy at Brookings, says it's possible that in order to accept a deal, hardliners will get a freer hand and more money through sanctions relief to support destabilizing forces in the region.
So I actually suspect that a nuclear deal, if it's achieved, might stave off that one very scary, very destabilizing development. But it might have the effect of exacerbating other problems with Iranian behavior in the region.
And increase the anxiety of the Saudis and others who want U.S. backing, and not just in Yemen. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, Washington. In France, security officials are trying to figure out how hackers claiming allegiance to the so-called Islamic State managed to shut down a global television network. Last night, 11 channels belonging to the broadcaster TV 5 Monde went dark. The hackers kept the network off the air for hours. The group calling itself Cyber Caliphate also posted pro-ISIS messages on the network's web pages. The hacking comes after a deadly January attack by Islamists on a French satirical magazine. Today, the French culture minister called an emergency meeting of media groups. Damien Lalou is a technology writer for the French newspaper Le Monde. He's not affiliated with the TV network. He spoke to me from the Le Monde newsroom in Paris, and we started with what was said at that emergency meeting.
Basically, the message the government was trying to convey was that media have to take bigger steps towards protecting their infrastructures.
Step back for a moment. Can you describe exactly what the hackers were able to accomplish at TV 5 Monde?
First of all, they were able to take control of all the Twitter accounts and Facebook pages of TV 5 Monde. Then they managed to get inside the network of the TV station. So at this point, the people in charge at TV 5 Monde decided that they had to stop them from spreading inside the servers, and they decided to cut everything. So at this point, everything went dark. All the TV channels went dark, the websites, and just about everything TV 5 Monde related.
Help us understand the scale here. I mean, do we have any sense of how long it would have taken to plan something like this? You know, how they were able to take over?
We have very scarce information, but we do know that they probably planned it several days in advance. Some suspicious activity was detected a few days ago on some remote servers belonging to TV 5 Monde, and the technical services now think they were inside before the real attack started. So they took their time to get access to whatever they wanted, and then they started getting deeper into the servers. But the actual method they used is not quite clear yet. We do know that the start of it all was a simple email containing some malicious code that somebody probably opened by mistake. mistaking it for a legitimate email, and then they could get inside the first computer and then probably work their way up from there.
What's the significance of the scale of this attack? I mean, is it being seen as a different level of sophistication?
Yes, it is. After the January attacks, there was a huge wave of small-scale cyber attacks against French websites. But those were mostly small websites, not very well protected, and all those attacks were done by groups who claimed they were not jihadists and had no particular sympathy for ISIS, but that they wanted to defend Islam. Now, this group that claimed to have attacked Macron, they do claim that they are close to ISIS, which is something that actually we don't have any proof of. All the Twitter accounts used by ISIS that usually react very quickly when they want to spread a message did not say a word about this hack until very late today, and it was not as organized as it's usually the case when they want to claim something.
So at this point, are French security officials saying that the cyber caliphate or that ISIS-connected hackers are responsible for this?
Yeah, actually, there are things they are, and they think there are strong ties to ISIS, but not all experts agree on that point, including leading American experts, because this group, it's not quite clear who they are, how many there are. They seem to have some dose of technical skills. The attack against David Macron was well planned and probably well executed, but we can't be quite sure until the inquiries are over.
Damien Nadeau, he is a technology writer for the French newspaper Le Monde. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you so much.
After weeks of mixed signals about its intentions, today Greece paid off part of a loan it owes to the International Monetary Fund. The $485 million payment came as a big relief to the financial markets, which have been worried that Athens might default on its debt. But Greece has more loans coming due later this month, and its funds are growing tight. NPR's Jim Zaroli has more.
Greece's left-wing government came to power in January, promising to take a much tougher stance with the country's creditors, who've imposed punishing austerity measures on the country. The government's rhetoric set it up on a collision course with the major Eurozone powers. But today, the Athens government blinked, and a crisis was at least temporarily averted. MIT's Simon Johnson is the IMF's former chief economist.
The fact they make the payment means that the discussions continue with the European Union, and all the options are still on the table. But the situation is very delicate and quite difficult.
Over the next few weeks, Greece faces deadlines on bonds it issued, and also is supposed to make another large payment to the IMF. But it's not clear Athens has the funds to do so. And to borrow in the private markets, Greece would have to pay exceptionally high interest rates. In recent weeks, Greek officials have been sitting down with European finance ministers in an effort to revise the payment terms. Today, IMF head Christine Lagarde said the talks should continue.
It's a difficult path, but it's one that has to be walked, and which will just improve the situation.
But Greece's creditors want tougher cuts in public sector wages and benefits, as well as tax increases. And Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras says the country has already suffered enough. This week, Tsipras raised eyebrows across Europe with a trip to Moscow. Saddled with its own economic problems, Russia probably can't help Greece much financially, but European Union officials are contemplating further sanctions against Moscow because of its annexation of Crimea, and Russia is eager to strengthen its friendship with Greece. Eswar Prasad is a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution.
The Eurozone is required to act by consensus on such measures, and if Greece withheld support from those measures, it would give Russia a little more breathing room, a little more leverage in dealing with the Eurozone.
Still, Greece has a weak hand to play in Europe. 2 years ago, European officials were terrified that a default by Greece could reverberate throughout the financial system. Today, Europe's economy is still anemic, but the banking system is stronger, and smaller countries like Ireland and Portugal are in better shape. European officials want to make sure Greece pays its debts in the coming months, even as they realize that a default wouldn't be the kind of systemic threat it once was. Jim Zaroli, NPR News.
listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
Support comes from Morrissey, playing the Aronoff Center on Tuesday, June 30th. Tickets available beginning tomorrow at 10 a.m. For more information, you can visit CincinnatiArts.org or call 513-621-ARTS. The frontman of the Smiths and accomplished solo artist Morrissey, June 30th at the Aronoff Center. Like 91.7 WVXU on Facebook to keep up to date with the latest news. Join the conversation and connect to a world of ideas. Support comes from Miami University Farmer School of Business MBA program held at the Westchester location. Ranked #1 for part-time MBA programs in the region by U.S. News and World Report. Fall application information session is April 14th. You can register or learn more about the Farmer School of Business MBA program online at mba.miamioh.edu. Support for 91.7 WVXU comes in part from the Ohio Mediation Association. Dedicated professionals helping parties control the outcome of their commercial and personal disputes. More information available online at mediateohio.org. Support comes from the Victory of Light Expo coming to